Hello everyone, welcome to my YNR 24 Spoilers Update channel. For Billy's character to advance, a significant overhaul is required. Updates and teasers for the young and the restless hint that Billy Abbott, who is immature and uncommitted, needs a major character makeover. Billy Abbott, the child man, needs to stop being such a dumpster fire train wreck and start acting like a responsible adult. Billy has occasionally appeared to make mature gestures in the past. In the past, there have been times when it truly seemed like Billy was about to mature and organize his life. Unfortunately, Billy keeps reverting to his self-centered failing and misdirected desires. As long as he gets what he wants, he doesn't care about the mayhem he causes. If Billy had ever accomplished something noteworthy, this could be fine. But when was the last time he had a real success? Billy is the epitome of what it means to be a loser. Kane terminated his agreement with Billy because he was too much of a wild card. Kane Ashby chose to terminate their arrangement because he believes Billy to be too erratic in the September 18th episode of YNR. Kane's viewpoint is difficult to criticize because Billy genuinely exemplifies that unpredictable nature. Billy's attempt to scare Victor Newman with the AI software was certain to fail, even if Kane had delivered it as planned. In what world would Victor ever feel intimidated by Billy and his threats? Billy has a reputation for taking big chances that always end in failure. With nothing to show for his efforts, viewers are left to watch Billy hop from one ridiculous endeavor to another. Billy's self-absorbed nature is now causing him and Sally to blow out. Billy and Sally Spectra's relationship appears to be in danger of ending right now, which makes it impossible for him to be happy in his personal life. Sally is better off without Billy because of his selfishness, which keeps him from treating her with respect. This might be a good time for the program to make some significant changes and reset Billy's character. Billy frequently presents as an impetuous adolescent in need of direction rather than acting like a responsible adult who has grown from his many errors. Is it time for Billy to grow up and make a more constructive decision? Do you think he can let go of his resentments and mature? Check in to see what's going on with YNR at the moment. For news, updates, and spoilers for the young and the restless, return frequently. Quick decision, cunning, difficult choice. Spoilers for Thursday, September 25's episode of The Young and the Restless suggest some significant events in Genoa City. One person is asked to make a quick choice, another is given a trick, and a character must make a difficult choice. What can we expect from Thursday's performance? It's time to find out. Kane Ashby's quick choice. According to Thursday, September 25th spoilers for The Young and the Restless, Victor Newman is going to make Kane Ashby an intriguing offer. That being stated, the offer is on the table and requires a response right away. If Kane fails to provide one, it will be relinquished. The mustache is the best at mind tricks, so it appears Victor is merely attempting to impose his dominance and wear down the rich tycoon. Kane has set his sights on capturing Genoa City and acquiring all the major companies in the process. But Victor is demonstrating who the true boss in GC is owing to these and other ploys. Jack Abbott's deception. Jack Abbott, who lives across town, will have a secret. Is what he's doing on Thursday's performance preparing for Friday, September 26th, when he intends to strike a deal with Victor? To discover out, fans will need to tune in. Read more. Spoilers for The Young and the Restless. Stranger danger alert. Mariah's victim gets back at Tessa? Sally Spectra must make a difficult decision. Finally, according to Thursday's spoilers on The Young and the Restless, Billy Abbott will have Sally Spectra make a difficult decision. The two had a very passionate conversation on Wednesday, September 24th. Sally became tearful as she talked of leaving everything, including her position at Marchetti, to follow Billy. In order to carry out Kane's plan, which ultimately failed, he would blow up Abbott Communications' dream. Another worry is that Billy is now focusing on Kane rather than getting revenge on Victor. Billy did say he was refocused and that there was light at the end of the tunnel. But will Sally decide to stick by him or go in another direction? Which plot point in Thursday's program are you most excited about? Leave a comment below. For the finest young and the restless news, spoilers, and updates, watch the CBS serial opera every day and visit SOS frequently. Billy Abbott's journey on the young and the restless has always been one of contradiction, tragedy, impulsiveness, and wasted potential. And when fans look at the script line that screams, Billy's character needs a major overhaul to move forward, the statement is not only accurate, but overdue, because what has long defined Billy is his inability to grow beyond his status as Genoa City's perpetual childman, a charming yet reckless Abbott who sabotages his personal happiness and professional ambitions at every turn, leaving a trail of broken promises, fractured relationships, failed ventures, and wounded trust behind him. And while there have been flashes, brief sparks of maturity, where viewers thought perhaps he was on the cusp of turning a corner, those moments have always fizzled out into the same cycle of immaturity, ego, risk-taking, and disastrous consequences. And that cycle is once again repeating itself as his entanglements with Sally Spectra and Kane Ashby spiral downward, reminding us why Billy's pattern has exhausted viewers, frustrated loved ones, and endangered the reputation of the Abbott family legacy, with Jack Abbott constantly cleaning up the messes and Diane Jenkins Abbott worrying about Billy's stability and Jill Abbott perpetually reminding him to step up, only to see him squander another opportunity. And when we look closer, it is obvious that what keeps Billy from achieving anything lasting is not merely external sabotage or bad luck, but a deep-seated inability to commit, to focus, and to actually follow through on any ambition without letting insecurity, impulsiveness, or his obsession with revenge drag him back down. Because when has Billy truly succeeded? When has he ever come out the victor in business, love, or family loyalty without someone else having to bail him out or rescue him from his own folly? And that reality feeds into the September episodes where Kane Ashby decides to cancel their agreement after realizing Billy is simply too much of a wild card, too reckless to trust with a deal as delicate as software capable of challenging Victor Newman. And Kane's choice, though harsh, rings true because who in their right mind would place faith in Billy to go toe-to-toe with the mustache, the man who has outwitted rivals far more cunning than Billy? And the truth is Billy's threats against Victor were doomed from the start, because Billy lacks the discipline, strategy, and ruthlessness required to take down Victor. So instead of being intimidating, he comes off as desperate, petulant, and tragically out of his depth, which makes his repeated ventures into power games feel like reruns of past failures. And just when it seems he might pivot to something healthier, like building a relationship with Sally, his self-absorbed tendencies creep back in, leaving Sally Spectra, a woman who sacrificed her career at Marchetti to stand by his side in Abbott Communications, feeling abandoned, let down, and forced into a position where she must make a tough call about whether to keep supporting a man who continually undermines her sacrifices or whether to chart a new course without him. Because Billy's recklessness not only blew up their joint dream, but also shifted his obsession from Victor to Kane, signaling that he's once again chasing vendettas instead of stability, and that puts Sally in an impossible position, which is why many fans argue that Sally deserves better. And perhaps this looming breakup is the exact catalyst writers need to finally reset Billy's character, because the man has run in circles for years, never evolving beyond his role as Genoa City's lovable but unreliable screw-up, and audiences are tired of seeing the same beats play out over and over. Failed romance, failed business, angry revenge plot, crash and burn, rinse and repeat. So if YNR truly wants to save Billy as a character worth rooting for, a serious overhaul is essential, one that strips away the excuses, stops romanticizing his recklessness as passion, and forces him to grow up in a way he never has before, because while it was once entertaining to watch Billy spiral, it has now become redundant and sad. And when even Kane Ashby, themselves no angel, calls Billy too unpredictable, it's a glaring signal that Billy has crossed into irredeemable territory unless writers make drastic changes. Which brings us back to the key question posed in the script. Is it finally time for Billy to mature and let go of grudges, To stop chasing short-term thrills and face the reality of his life as a middle-aged man with responsibilities to his family, his legacy, and himself. And is it even possible for him to escape the shadow of his failures long enough to build something sustainable? Or will he remain trapped in the endless loop of bad decisions, self-sabotage, and emotional immaturity? And while Thursday's episode teasers about snap decisions, trickery, and tough calls might appear to focus on Kane, Jack, and Sally, all three storylines circle back to Billy. Because Kane's snap decision to walk away from Billy proves his unreliability, Jack's trickery, likely involving Victor, is partially driven by a desire to keep the family afloat despite Billy's disasters. And Sally's tough call is perhaps the most personal and poignant, as she weighs whether she can continue tethering her future to a man who doesn't know how to respect or support the sacrifices of others. And if she walks away, that may serve as the rock-bottom moment Billy needs to finally change, or it could send him spiraling deeper into bitterness and reckless revenge. But regardless, the show has positioned Billy as a man at a crossroads. And if the writers are bold enough to embrace a true character overhaul instead of recycling the same tired beats, this could mark the most important turning point in Billy Abbott's story since Delia's death, a storyline that devastated him and the viewers, but ultimately became a crutch for his character to remain in perpetual chaos. And perhaps now is the time to write Billy not as a tragic cautionary tale, but as a man who finally grows into the legacy of John Abbott's son, not defined by failure but by resilience, not by reckless revenge but by hard-won wisdom, not by self-absorption, but by genuine care for those he claims to love. And that kind of transformation, though challenging, could reinvigorate both the character and the show, because audiences are ready for Billy to either grow up or step aside, and the September episodes may very well be setting the stage for that long-awaited evolution. And if we peel back even more layers of Billy Abbott's tangled web, we begin to see that his endless cycle of immaturity is not just about poor choices in love or business, but about a deep identity crisis, because Billy has always lived in the shadows of stronger figures. Jack as the responsible Abbott who keeps Chabot steady, Victor as the eternal rival who always wins, Jill as the overbearing mother who simultaneously enables and criticizes him, and even Kane who, though far from perfect, has managed to pull off victories that Billy could only dream of, and that constant sense of inadequacy has shaped him into a man who overcompensates with reckless risks and bold gestures that inevitably collapse under scrutiny, leaving him humiliated and defensive, lashing out at those closest to him. And that explains why Sally Spectra's loyalty to him rings so hollow in the eyes of fans, because Sally is a fighter, a survivor who rebuilt herself in Genoa City after humiliation in Los Angeles. And to tether her to a man who refuses to grow up feels like an insult to her potential, which is why this tough call she now faces isn't just about romance, but about her own self-worth. Does she continue to gamble her future on Billy's empty promises of a light at the end of the tunnel, or does she finally recognize that Billy's tunnel has no end, only more detours into failure? And that realization may push Sally into new territory, perhaps aligning her with someone like Adam Newman or even Nick Newman again, because both men, for all their flaws, at least demonstrate drive and accountability in ways Billy never has. And meanwhile, Jack Abbott's trickery subplot underscores how much of Billy's dysfunction bleeds into family matters, because Jack has spent decades carrying Billy, patching up his mistakes, and shielding the family business from his reckless choices. And now, Jack's maneuvering with Victor may be less about true alliance and more about creating buffers to protect Chabot and Diane from the fallout of Billy's latest implosion, which again proves the point that until Billy undergoes a serious character overhaul, he will never be the man others can rely on. And in soap operas, character stagnation is dangerous. Viewers grow weary when the same arcs repeat, and Billy's arc has been repeating for years, which is why now is the perfect moment to give him a storyline of accountability, redemption, and maturity, because without that he risks sliding into irrelevance, a character viewers dismiss as the permanent loser of Genoa City, someone fun to watch crash and burn, but never compelling enough to root for long term. and Y&R cannot afford to waste Jason Thompson's talent on a role that never grows. So whether it comes through Sally leaving him, Kane humiliating him, or Jack finally cutting him off financially, Billy's reckoning is overdue. And the only question left is whether the writers will be bold enough to let him finally evolve into the man fans know he could be, or whether they'll once again reset him to square one, repeating the cycle of failure until viewers no longer care. And if that happens, it won't just be Billy who suffers, but the show itself, because audiences crave growth, resolution, and transformation, and Billy Abbott is long past due for his.